boost. So once that Prankster's confirmed, you have to be a little bit more concerned about what what moves it actually has, because there's a lot of good Prankster moves available now.
Yeah, but you can see as well that Yasuharu's continuing with this trend that he was looking at for that first game, rotating in that Incineroar, but what's this? Thunderous is going to go for a scary face here to make sure that Nicholas Zacian has that speed advantage. So the Behemoth Blade from Nicholas will be used first, but at neutral because of that Intimidate drop.
It still should be a 2-hit knockout, and making sure you win the speed tie every single time is very, very helpful. The Zacian's play rough, though, easily deals with that Thunderous. It's another critical hit.
That is going to remove the Thunderous from the field, and now Nicholas has to look at what will be brought in its stead. I think the one thing that is really going for him right now is he has his free switch into the Kyogre, and there isn't the threat of that Venusaur on the field just yet. Of course, Incineroar looking at maybe some fake-out pressure here, but at least Kyogre could go for something like the Dynamax and just start getting out damage right away.
It's always a tough decision with the Kyogre on whether you Dynamax or not. I know a lot of trainers have been leaning into it, but the one thing it takes away is one of Kyogre's best properties, in my opinion, which is the spread attacks. Origin Pulse, Water Spout will be doing both. Kyogre getting caught there a little bit before the turn starts, and you know the Zacian had to fire off the attack before with the quick attack because of the speed drop from earlier and the scary face. So a lot going on there, but followed up with an easy knockout.
Yeah, Kyogre, of course, wants to go for that Water Spout, but that quick attack is really good as well because that Water Spout does scale damage relative to how much HP that Kyogre has, and so you are removing a little bit of that threat too, while you do end up seeing the Venusaur now rotate into that Zacian slot for Yasuharu.
And the big concern is there just going to be a world where the Groudon switches in once again? Yasuharu made that play in game number 1. It was very, very successful. I think if that's the case, the Kyogre is going to have to Dynamax and try and take that away. The big thing in this one, though, is if that play goes off, there's no Thunderous on the field, and the Thunderous was what caused the Venusaur to really struggle. Those Eerie Impulses took away the threat of the G-Max Vine Lash, and without that on board, I think they're still going to hurt through a Protect into a Dynamax. They're going to cause a lot of problems. So Yasuharu still in a very, very good position in this one. That early removal of the Thunderous took away a lot of the tools that Nicholas uses to get an advantageous board position.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think it's a little telegraphed here that Incineroar will be swapped out in favor of that Groudon to reset the weather, get the sun up, and of course, allow that Venusaur to start moving very quickly here. And of course, we're going to see a Dynamax follow it up.
I think the Dynamax is a little bit obvious when the Groudon's coming in. You know exactly how this one's going to go. And a G-Max Vine Lash here could really accelerate Yasuharu to the world title. It's going to do a lot of damage to the Kyogre, no matter how it hits, without the drop to special attack.
Yeah, and whether or not we see kind of a follow-up that on Nicholas's side remains to be seen, as I think you don't have an option in this case. You really do have to go for it. Get that boost to your HP. Hope that you are able to survive an attack that comes your way. And Yasuharu, though, I mean, this is going to be a big battle of titans here. You saw that the Venusaur Dynamax first, so it definitely has the speed advantage right now, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's got the ability activated, and it's going to be able to capitalize off that. But Kyogre playing it safe here with the Max Guard, I really do like that.
Oh, but he calls it!
It's a big read. Max Flare into Zacian in the sun.
Oh, that Zacian is just going to be out of here right now. Yasuharu with a huge read on the board, just calling the Max Guard and going for the Zacian, and that play is absolutely huge. Now we're in a very similar position here, but whoa, what's this? It's going to be Shedinja now to get up to some tricks here on the board.
The Shedinja's got so much work to do. The big thing with the Shedinja here is it's not quite able to lock out the game. You've just seen Max Flare coming through from the Venusaur, so it doesn't really matter as the Vine Lash connects with the Kyogre. That is not enough, but it's still huge damage, and you know what happens between turns. The time is really limited for this Kyogre.
Really is, but at least it can go for the Max Hailstorm now. It will be doing damage into that Venusaur, and unfortunately not quite enough to knock it out, but you are at least going to help get the speed on the board to kind of limit that from the Venusaur now that the sun is gone.
I think the Kyogre just gets knocked out with the G-Max Vine Lash. The Rock Tomb even. Then it's just going to get caught. Anyway, it would have been caught between turns. If the Rock Tomb had gone the other way, it could have been a bit different, but no more big damage. That is a very underwhelming attack from, the the Kyogre. And yeah, the Poltergeist is going to get the knockout here on Venusaur, but looking at the remaining two for Yasuharu, there is no lock here with the Shedinja.
No, both of these Groudon and this Incineroar will be doing some work into the Shedinja, despite the Wonder Guard and the Hail that was set up as well. Will knock out Nicholas's Shedinja, and Yasuharu with a 2-0 to become your Seniors Division World Champion.
Looking at that Hail setup, I think at the end, Nick just knew and wanted to get rid of the Venusaur, but a phenomenal game by Yasuharu. I think game number one goes very nicely his way after all those eerie impulses, but he takes that information into game two and plays around it so spectacularly. He realizes what a problem that Thundurus can be, goes after it really aggressively, really early with that big play rough instead of just throwing Behemoth Blades around. As soon as that gets knocked out, the game plan becomes so much easier. Without seeing the Whimsicott, I assumed the Shedinja was going to be one of the options in the back, but I just don't think, as you said at the beginning of the game, there was enough room for it to kind of play and capitalize on that Wonder Guard.
And I think that was really cool for the Venusaur as well, is that, you know, we've seen this Weather Ball tech on the Venusaur every once in a while, but the fact that it was included on this team and as such a good counter to such a strong Pokemon in the meta, that really did play favors. I mean, usually when you are looking at the Venusaur, sometimes it's that Max Quake that we will see as a type of response to these Steel type attackers, but that Max Flare did so much work in that game.
That Max Flare, when you're putting the sun up for it with the Groudon, is going to do even more damage. Yes, you don't get a special defense boost, but you know what? It's got to feel pretty good to easily knock out a Zacian like that. Phenomenal play. I love that read. It's so aggressive, but you can do that a little bit more when you have the wiggle room. And after knocking out that Thundurus, no other support. The Whimsicott was dropped in lieu of the Shedinja. After all of that, I think Yasuharu did a fantastic job and played that game with the information from game one absolutely perfectly. Little disappointed we didn't see the Bronze Song, but I'll get over it.
The Bronzong would have been a really cool Pokemon to see, but I think it makes a lot of sense that you don't really have the option to slow down in this matchup to be able to really get that Bronzong set up and go for, you know, its kind of classic body press type of moveset. But wow, what a phenomenal performance by Yasuharu, and I mean, showing us the power of that Venusaur too. Blastoise Venusaur, is Charizard next to win the Masters Finals? Who knows? It's on the cards now.
It could be a very clear sign, and when we got the Gigantamax versions of them, I thought they were all very powerful, but now we're just being shown that they are world champion level powerful, and that is absolutely huge. Of course, you know, the G-Max Vine Lash just doing so much damage, and the residual damage between turns is kind of crazy to think about. That's the most sort of between turn damage we've ever seen. We've looked at damage like the hail damage, which really is truly chip damage, and that just takes it to a whole new level. It wasn't a huge factor in that game, but the fact that Venusaur finally got its chance to shine, I think a lot of people, particularly up in the Masters division, had shied away from it a little bit. It finally got a chance, and yeah, the Blastoise Venusaur Charizard dream it's on.
Well, I think on this particular team as well, that Venusaur is just so cool. We'll have to talk about that a little bit more as we head to the stage for an interview with your Seniors Division World Champion.
Thanks so much. You've won. How do you feel?
今のお気持ちを教えてください。
いやー、すごい嬉しいと同時に結構緊張してます。
He was very happy, but he was very nervous at the same time.
What was the most important thing that helped you win that match?
今の試合勝てたことでその試合を勝ったことで何が一番重要でしたか？
そうですね、ザシアンとカイオーガが相手のメインアタッカーだったので、それを重点的に落とすように考えました。
The Zacian and the Kyogre were the main attackers, so he focused on trying to paint them first.
You must have practiced a lot. I'm sure many people here have helped you. Do you want to say hello or thank you to any of them?
今まで一緒に練習してきた相手や家族や仲間に一言ありますか？
本当にありがとうございます。
He says thank you. He says thank you very much.
We always have to ask, because many people will now look up to you. What advice do you have for players who want to become champions?
今回優勝したことによってあなたを尊敬したり、参考にする方がいると思うのですけど、何か一言ありますか、彼らに向けて。
そうですね、本当にその人たちのおかげで勝ったと本当に思っているので、本当にありがとうございます。
Says still thanks to them, to those people that have admired him and looked up to him. It's thanks to them that he's able to win.
Now, what will you do to celebrate?
これからどうしますか？何かお祝いとかありますか？
そうですね、今はまだ決めてないですね。
It's still undecided for him.
We'll give you time to think about it. Let's hear another round of applause for our champion. And we'll be right back with more after this.
Well, 2 down and 1 to go. Welcome, Pokemon trainers, to the Masters Division Grand Finals at the 2022 Pokemon World Championships.
Here we go.
I am so excited for this, Lee. You can hear the crowd in the venue, and I'm sure all our viewers at home are just as excited as we are to crown our world champion. I mean, we've seen so much history over the course of this tournament so far, and there's only one more trophy yet to hand out.
We're at the final stage, the final hurdle now, and this is what the deciding factor is going to be to crown our 2022 world champion. And it's an incredible position for us all to be in, because the match that we've got ahead of us is going to be an incredible one, Lou.
Well, it's an all-European final in the Masters Division. We have got Eduardo Cunha from Portugal versus Guillermo Castilla-Diaz from Spain. And I am so looking forward to seeing how these two players are going to battle it out and bring that trophy home to Europe.
Yeah, we've seen their journeys throughout this weekend, and they've done incredibly well to get here, you know, coming up against all odds to get to the finals. And now they're at that final stage where they've just got one more opponent to beat before getting the trophy. But they've got really interesting teams as well, both different restricteds on their sides of the field, and it's going to make for a really tough duel between both players.
That's the thing, a lot of speculation has been had coming into this tournament and throughout the course of all the battles about which restricted pair is going to be victorious. Now, if we take it at Eduardo's side, we know that they're the two restricted choices there of the Zacian and the Calyrex Shadow Rider. And on the opposing side, it's that Lunala and Groudon. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Lee, I don't believe they were ones that us or our fellow casters picked.
No, I didn't pick them. I didn't know. But you know, it's no surprise after seeing them do so well throughout this different stages of this event that these are probably the best restricted combinations that we've got actually available in this format, and I think both players are utilizing them to their maximum potential. You know, the Groudon Lunala probably wouldn't have been something that I would have called, and I think I'm so pleased that Guillermo's proved me completely wrong on this, because I think the way he's piloted the team throughout this tournament, he's really showed that this is a restricted combination, that it works perfectly together. And not only that, it's the way that he's built the two Pokemon, because they're a little bit different from some of the other Groudon Lunala teams that we might have seen. I think that's what's giving him the edge in this event itself. Then you go over to Eduardo's side of the field, and he's got the Calyrex Shadow Rider, you know, that it's such a powerful, fast Pokemon, and then paired up with the Zacian.
Exactly, it's a great combination when you're pairing up that, you know, like you said, very fast and strong special attacking Pokemon in the form of the Calyrex, paired up with, again, another fast but physically offensive Pokemon in the form of Zacian. And I know a lot of our co-commentators and Aaron on the desk was saying about Zacian, you know, not necessarily winning Worlds, but there's a 50-50 chance here today in the Masters Division.
Yeah, his premonition might come true. I think it could come true, yes. And I think it's a good call as well. It shows his experience from all the years of him playing, you know. But the one thing that you can look at with the teams, I don't think it's just all about the restricted Pokemon. A lot of it is to do with the choices that these two have picked for the supporting members of their team, you know. You've got on Eduardo's side, you've got that Gastrodon. On Guillermo's side, it's not so much a support Pokemon, but it's a very impactful Pokemon, and it's that Regieleki, and we saw that showcase yesterday.
Well, we also saw the Gastrodon showcased beautifully by Eduardo yesterday. I mean, I remember when Sierra and Joe were commentating and they had the Dynamax Gastrodon on Eduardo's side. I believe it was in their top 4 match.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing to see a Pokemon that we've seen be so disruptive in previous formats, and we've seen Eduardo pilot it so well in that top 4, in the Trick Room matchup. You know, it was difficult for him. He needed to find a way to stall out that Trick Room, and using the Gastrodon so beautifully to kind of stall through those Trick Room turns and force his opponent to have to set up multiple Trick Rooms does just show, I think, why Gastrodon is a fantastic partner Pokemon. And I personally would love to see it Dynamax. We don't know if it's going to happen, but there'll be no complaints from me.
Definitely not for me either, but I think it's great. It's a really good kind of observation of the Gastrodon, and it's not only good in that Trick Room environment, it's good at disrupting the flow of what your opponent's trying to implement. They're not going to be able to get that kind of momentum shift, because if they get yawned, if they stay on the field the next turn, then they are going to go to sleep, and that is costly because you don't want turns where you aren't having any impact at all. So that is something that Eduardo is going to be able to utilize, and I think something that Guillermo is going to have to be very conscious of.
I think you make a really good point about the yawn. That certainly really disrupts it, because it then will force your opponent to have to make those switches that they may not want to be able to do. If you've got your Pokemon in a position where you just want to start dealing out big, powerful, damage-dealing attacks, and suddenly you get hit with a yawn, you have to, you know, roll that dice of, do I switch out and then possibly have a Pokemon come in and take unnecessary damage, or do I capitalize on the fact that I could get big damage now, but as a result, fall asleep at the end of the turn? So Gastrodon does start applying pressure to not only the Pokemon on the field, but also to the mindset of the player piloting the team, because you have to make those decisions. And this is the grand finals. Every decision counts. There are literally the potential of 3 games left in order to determine our champion.
When you just put it simply like that, it just really hits home, doesn't it? And, you know, we mentioned at the very start, when we sat down here, how the atmosphere, how the audience, and it really is electric. And, you know, it is just down to 3 games now, potentially, until we do get our winner. And, you know, we're talking about the Gastrodon a little bit, and the Gastrodon itself is, I think, one of the key components for Eduardo's side of the field. I think as well, the Rillaboom is something that he can quite handily lean on, because I feel like you're looking at Guillermo's side of the field and maybe what options he's going to bring into this match. You've got to say that the Regieleki is a big threat, and I think those 2 Pokemon in particular, the Gastrodon obviously with that ground immunity to the big electric type attacks, really does well there. It's got the disruption. Has to be a little bit wary about something like the electric terrain. If that goes up, then you can't utilize that yawn. But the Rillaboom, it is obviously resists electric type with its grass typing, and it has a multitude of different options that it can utilize against some of the bigger threats on Guillermo's side of the field.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you've mentioned the terrain, because that is something that we discussed a little bit yesterday, where Rillaboom loves being in the grassy terrain because it can get that priority grassy glide move activated and might be able to get a KO here or there. But if you've got a Pokemon like Regieleki that can go for something like a Max Lightning, then it's going to bring the electric terrain to the field, overwrite it, not only boost up its own electric type attacks going forward, but then stop the Rillaboom from being able to capitalize from using that grassy terrain in order to give it the priority move. And I think something like that is going to be interesting in this matchup, because potentially we're going to see the terrains playing a very strong role.
Yeah, on face value, when you look at the teams, you think, oh, the terrains probably aren't going to be that impactful, but when you really delve a little bit deeper into the teams, I think you make a really good observation where the terrains are actually going to be quite imperative to both sides of the field and both players' kind of strategies and how they're able to execute them. So I think the emphasis on being able to not only, you know, most of this format, the emphasis is on something like the weather, where you've got either Groudon with its sun or Kyogre with its rain, and it's always about the weather battle there. But now we're looking at this, it's a bit more like the terrain and who can get that terrain up, who can keep it up, because one is going to be favorable for one player and one's going to be definitely favorable for the other. So it's going to be a little bit of a duel there behind the scenes, I think, in this battle in regards to the terrain control.
Well, if you aren't already excited enough, we have a fantastic video to get you even more hyped for this grand finals. Let's take a look at our 2 finalists and how they got here. Welcome to the Pokemon World Championships 2022 in London.
Each of you now has a chance to compete for the title of Pokemon World Champion.
Double damage, picking up this 1-hit KO.
That was 1 turn! Max Lightning.
Groudon from the back, knocking out its own teammate.
This is insane.
Come on, little Gastrodon. Yes, and it goes
hits.
for another Ice Beam.
Against all the odds.
What a comeback.
This Landorus still has one turn,
Oh.
and it reveals it carries the grass move.
This is amazing, and it gets the one-hit KO. What a turn of events.
Max Vine Lash is going to go first, and 1 HP. Insult to injury here as you get the knockout onto the Incineroar. Astro Barrage, single target into the Torkoal, and it is a one-hit knockout here.
He reveals the wide guard. He's going for it all.
There it is.
Enough.
But
Oh,
Goliath
it
Support
survives.
hangs
2
on with
HP.
2, but Drill Run is going to
That's
return and pick up the
huge.
KO. Charizard gets paralyzed, allowing Ringus Charizard to go for the knockout.
Paul having to sacrifice his Calyrex to try to win this game. But slow and steady wins the race.
It's a max guard on the Lunala's side, so Lunala can now do what it wants to do. Charizard goes down in 1 hit.
Zacian with the Sacred Sword, and that is going to be devastating. Eduardo moving on into the grand finals.
Regieleki just going for it with the Max Light. That is a monstrous knockout.
Guillermo Castilla Diaz will make it to the finals.
Are you ready for the Pokemon Video Game World Championship Finals? Me too. We're going to bring our players up in just a moment, but before we do, let's take a look at what they had to say about this match.
My name is Eduardo Cunha, and I'm from Portugal.
My name is Guillermo Castilla. I'm from Spain.
My strategy for this tournament was using the Zacian Calyrex combination to set up a solid board position with Thunder's Incarnate, especially using the Dynamax mechanic.
That's going to be 1 KO to start the turn.
My overall strategy is to take advantage of my Dynamax, trying to stall the opponent Dynamax.
1-hit knockout.
My comfort with the team and my understanding of its inner works will really help me win.
Have to take advantage of the damage and the speed control. He is one of the greatest European players of all time, so it's a honor for me to share the final against him.
Winning Worlds will be like a dream come true, honestly. Never would have thought one day being able to be the world champion.
Pokemon is something that it was in my life during many, many years. Winning Worlds would be the top for me.
I'm gonna try my best to knock out every single one of their Pokemon.
I think he's really good, but I'm better.
We are about to watch some dreams come true, and I can tell you are ready. So let's bring out our players. First, from Portugal, Eduardo Cunha. And from Spain, Guillermo Castilla Diaz.
It's nice to see no Zacian in the finals.
I think these players are ready. Tell them how much you love them. Players, we can't wait to watch you compete, so please take your seats. And casters, let's get this match started.
Thank you so much for that, Anna. What a great introduction there we had for both players, and they're just going to get themselves set up before we get into this match, Lou.
I mean, we have waited 3 years for this moment, for the Pokemon World Championships in London, and here we are at the Masters Division Finals for the video game competition. I mean, these two players are so well known. We've gone over their accomplishments a couple of times throughout the broadcast during this tournament, but I want to just talk a little bit about Eduardo here. I remember back when Eduardo won the Oceania International Championships.
Yeah.
I was there at that grand finals, and it certainly gave me a match to remember. So I am confident that going into this match, it's going to be another absolute incredible match.
Yeah, and I'll go back a few
there's
years
Zacian.
before that.
I'm
I
blind.
remember back in Madrid in 2011, a long time ago, and Guillermo was crowned the national champion that year in Spain. Incredible, you know, both players very well established, have that experience from these big events before, but this is the pinnacle. This is the stage. It doesn't get any bigger than this. This is the match for both of these players. And you can see in the video there where we were able to see a little bit about the players, what the strategies were, how emotional they were getting, Lou, coming into this game, and what it means for both of these players.
That is definitely reflected into the audience here. You can feel the passion, the commitment, and the adrenaline that these players have coming down to this moment. Throughout their entire Pokemon careers, you're always building towards being the best of the very best, and that is what you are here at the World Championships to do. You want to be that champion, you want the title, and you want the trophy. Lee, I am so excited. I hope everyone is ready.
Yeah, well, we're nearly there now, Lou, and you can see there the recap of the accomplishments of these players. We did touch on a few before there. You've got Eduardo with that 2020 Oceania International finalist. Then you've got the 2019 top 16
I
of
hope
worlds,
the Charizard team
and then
wins
you've got that
just
top
so
4
that
of worlds
Zacian
as
doesn't
well.
win.
So one of, you know, many accomplishments at this particular event, so very well established. And then you go down to Guillermo's, and I'm going to pass it over to you to take away.
Well, you can see Guillermo, like you said, Lee, over a decade ago was able to be the Spain national champion in 2011, has top 8 worlds back in 2012, along with most recently in this season getting top 8 at the European International Championships. But the thing I love about these players, already they are at their best finish at Worlds. Guillermo has got top 8 before, Eduardo has got top 4, so already they have completely destroyed that record, and one of them will be able to take it one stage further and become the champion.
Yeah, and it's incredible as we are just setting up here, waiting for the players to start this match. The one thing that you can say is that we have to talk about it. We talked about it on the analyst desk before. Eduardo's run up to this point. He is undefeated in this tournament so far.
It's incredible to be undefeated at this level of competition and to potentially go undefeated in the whole thing and win the title. That is an incredible feat for Eduardo to complete. On the opposing side, you know, Guillermo's going to want to do everything in his power to stop Eduardo from having that undefeated run.
Yeah, and I mean, I go back to that video again. You could see the emotions really pouring out when Guillermo was talking about how much this meant to him. He's played for such a long time, so he is not going to let this go without giving it everything. And I think both players are going to give it everything coming into this one, which will make it an even better spectacle for us in this final.
Well, the moment is here. The pressure is on. Team preview has started. And these players will have to start focusing on what Pokemon they are going to lead. We have seen a couple of times in this competition how important that turn 0 can be. And whether you are forced to reposition your Pokemon due to the offensive pressure that your opponent is emitting can really determine a match from the beginning. So this is a crucial moment for our players to think through every second and every opportunity in order to make the right decision.
Yeah, and it's quite an interesting matchup as well when you take both players kind of separately, because they have such unique play styles. You've got Eduardo on one side that's very, you know, he's got a lot of patience. He won't be over risky. He'll take his time setting up his board positions until he's got that perfect moment, and then he can execute his game plan to take the win. And then you've got Guillermo on the other side of the field, where he's very good at identifying opportunities that maybe other players don't see or overlook sometimes, and he capitalizes on those moments, and he's very offensive in those very short bouts, and that's what is very punishing about his play style, which is quite complimentary as a match, as a spectator for this particular game.
Exactly, we saw Guillermo not afraid to click that Sword Stance button or go for that Hypnosis yesterday, so he can definitely identify, as you've said, Lee, those high-risk, high-reward moments, and Eduardo is going to have to identify them too and find a way to play around it. But Pokemon trainers, here we go. The grand finals of the Masters division between Eduardo and Guillermo is about to begin.
Let's get into it, Lou. I'm so excited for this, and everyone, let the players know that you're cheering them on. Here we go, Lou.
Out of the blocks for Guillermo, it is Lunala paired up with that Regieleki. And on the opposing side, you love to see it. Gastrodon and Rillaboom, 3 of the Pokemon we talked about, Lee, are on the field.
Yeah, well, it makes a lot of sense for Eduardo to have that Rillaboom out and the Gastrodon, especially when you do have the threat from that Regieleki that has those big, devastating attacks. The one thing, though, that Guillermo has in his favor is if he does decide to go Dynamax here, go for that Max Lightning. It's not going to be very effective, but it will change the terrain, and it will give him a bit more immunity from those potential yawns that come out from this side of the field.
Well, Regieleki's just going to get in on out of here and retreat in favor of the Incineroar. That's going to be able to throw a cheeky Intimidate down against that opposing Rillaboom and negate some of the offensive pressure it will be emitting, as well as allowing Guillermo the opportunity to use Fake Out in the following turn. Lunala's also going to play a little bit defensively, going for a protect, doesn't want to get its Shadow Shield ability broken so early on. As Rillaboom goes for the knockoff, that would have dealt super effective damage and been so destructive to Lunala. Gastrodon following up the Icy Wind, revealing its disruptive speed control option. It's only going to catch the Incineroar, however, lower its speed by 1 stage. But already Eduardo is applying that lovely mix of offensive pressure with the knockoff and setting up a little bit of speed control with Gastrodon.
Yeah, it's a great lead here from Eduardo and going straight on the offensive here with that knockoff to potentially get rid of an item, which would be so beneficial for that Lunala. You know, it does rely on that power herb for the Meteor Beam to get that boost, but if you can knock it off, then it takes it out of the equation.
And really wise to fake out into the Rillaboom as Lunala gets the blind hypnosis straight into Rillaboom, identifying such a key threat of a Pokemon and shutting it down so expertly. Rillaboom, as you can see, is fast asleep. Is not going to be doing anything this turn, leaving the pressure up to Gastrodon to be able to capitalize on this situation and going for the Icy Wind. So it is going to break the Shadow Shield on Lunala and lower the speed. But I think that was a fantastic turn for Guillermo going forward in the match.
Yeah, going for that hypnosis and actually hitting it is huge. The payoff here takes away the threat of that Rillaboom, where we know it's got that knockoff. It is going to threaten it really hard, and now the Lunala free to potentially go for some on the offensive or even go for another hypnosis into that Gastrodon slot this next turn.
I mean, that would be incredible seeing a double blind hypnosis, but I particularly love the knockoff on Rillaboom. When Rillaboom first came into the format, it was on almost every one of that Pokemon, but then it's kind of faded off in, you know, recent months, and you're having a little bit more of a diverse Rillaboom, but being able to have the knockoff here, not only is it great to deal super effective damage, but you can remove a pesky item here or there. Lunala going for the protect again. It does not want to have to take any unnecessary damage as Rillaboom takes a second turn of sleep here. Gastrodon is going to go for the Yawn, so you can see Eduardo really targeting down into Lunala, but Incineroar's going to give a little bit of respite by going for this passing shot. So again, Guillermo really targeting down Rillaboom. It's weakening its attack stack once again and allowing him the opportunity to pivot. If you're Guillermo now, you want to try and capitalize on this situation and try and pick up a KO before that Rillaboom wakes up or switches out to reset the Intimidate drops.
Yeah, you make a really good point, but he is using his time wisely. He's getting the Intimidate onto the Rillaboom already, and now utilizing that parting shot to further reduce the attack power of the Rillaboom, taking away its capabilities, and now getting the Groudon onto the field in a much more comfortable position. The Rillaboom is asleep. There is a potential it can wake up this next turn, but it is in a position to potentially get a big fire-type attack into that slot and try and remove it before there is any further threat from it.
I completely agree. I also worry about that Gastrodon, however, though, because it could be in a position to go for a Yawn into that Groudon. Incineroar's going to switch in for the Lunala. I think it's wise to get it out of there. It certainly was very threatened. And to throw another Intimidate down against this Rillaboom. Groudon this time is going to go defensively. So Guillermo really trying to switch up ball positions to gain momentum as Rillaboom takes another turn of sleep. Once again, it's just going to be up to Gastrodon to give us action this turn, and it was going for the Yawn into that Groudon.
Yeah, and the other thing that you've got to think of here, where Guillermo's been very cautious, he's just playing what he's doing, what he needs to do, not taking any risks at the moment, and really wearing down statistically the Pokemon on Eduardo's side of the field. This Rillaboom now taking another Intimidate down, another stage of its attack stat, still asleep, and the Incineroar coming in now has the opportunity to go for a parting shot here, and all the time this grassy terrain is running out of turns.
Well, it's going to be a double switch for Eduardo, realizing the situation just wasn't in his favor. And I think resetting those attacks drops are really good for that Rillaboom. But it is always risky going for a double switch when you've got such an offensive powerhouse like Groudon on the field, because you could be taking some unnecessary damage. Incineroar's going to go for fake out into the Ghost type, so it's not going to be doing any damage. And clicks that Sword Stance button. Guillermo once again showing that he's not afraid to get the boost up on that Groudon. And now if you're Eduardo, you are forced to have to deal with this Groudon, otherwise it is going to get KO after KO.
It's a great play here from Guillermo, because it puts an instant threat on the field after that Sword Stance. Now the Groudon is going to be hitting extremely hard and potentially picking knockups out on the opposite side of the field. It's got access to Max Quake, Max Rockfall, and you know, if it goes for either of those attacks into either the Calyrex or that Thundurus, it's going to be very threatening, and potentially, like I say, Eduardo could be down a Pokemon very quickly.
I love this play by Guillermo. Like you've said there, Lee, you could go for something like the Max Quake into the Calyrex, and then you're going to get that special defense boost as well to, you know, stop you taking so much damage from something like an Astral Barrage. On the flip side, though, you could go for the Max Rockfall and try and deal with that Thundurus. You'd also then set up the weather and start getting that residual chip damage with the Sandstorm. But we're going to see Gastrodon rejoin the field.
Gastrodon coming back in here, and you know, the one thing that I did like there from Eduardo was that he was putting that Thundurus on the field to kind of mitigate almost the Incineroar being freely able to come in with the Intimidate or parting shot, because you get punished for it with that Defiant ability. But we do see the Gastrodon come in, and we see a Dynamax Groudon here from Guillermo's side of the field, taking full advantage of these Swords Dances.
Yeah, first Dynamax of the Masters final here, and it is going to be that Groudon's Calyrex goes for the Will-O-Wisp though, and it connects. That is one way to deal and counteract with the boost that the Swords Dance gave that Groudon. It is going to go for the Max Rockfall though. I'm sure this is now going to catch the Gastrodon that has switched in, and a really nice adjustment by Eduardo, because Gastrodon's going to take that much better than the Thunderous would have.
Yeah, great play here from Eduardo to really nullify the threat from that Groudon, getting that Will-O-Wisp, taking away those boosts that you've already got from the Swords Dance, and then the Gastrodon.
Fantastic follow-up by that Incineroar, taking down the Calyrex to its Focus Sash, and thanks to the Max Rockfall setting up that sand, Calyrex is out of here.
That's one of Eduardo's restricted down here, and a great play from Guillermo. The adjustment from Eduardo was great there to bring in the Gastrodon to take that big Max Rockfall, resisting that, getting that Will-O-Wisp off. You thought, great, he's got himself in a position, but no. Guillermo coming back with that Thought Trap, taking it down to the Sash, and smartly, because he used the Rockfall there. It doesn't matter if it's not effective into the Gastrodon, it's doing its job. It's taking down that Calyrex that was on its Sash now with the residual damage.
Also, if you're Groudon, yes, you've been burned, that's super unfortunate, but at least now you cannot be put to sleep by a Yawn, because you can only have one status affliction at a time. So if you're that Groudon, you don't have to worry about Gastrodon going for Yawn, and it kind of shows a little bit more of Eduardo's targeting, and you're going to be forced to go for the partner Pokemon if you want to go for those Yawns. Regieleki's going to join the field, though, very happy to be here in the Grand Finals, as Thunderous goes for the Protect.
Yeah, just want to kind of try and waste these Dynamax turns. There's two more, obviously this one, and one more after this for Guillermo. So Eduardo wants to try and stall these out, get through these turns without taking anything else as a loss here. So you're going to see the Gastrodon, like you say though, the burn on that. Oh, it's an Earth Power into the Regieleki.
Oh, it gets
it down.
One-hit KO on Regieleki before it's able to do anything, Lee.
This is one turn after another here. You know, you're explaining the turn, and then pow, these slower Pokemon are picking up the knockouts and showing why they've been chosen to be here, because they are the impactful ones. What a great predict there from Eduardo. Predicting that the Regieleki coming in there, using the Earth Power and picking up a huge knockout on what is a massive threat to Eduardo's side of the field.
Hey, we have not hyped up Gastrodon for 4 days for nothing. You can see how well it is fitting onto this team, being able to get that KO, then stop Guillermo from being able to capitalize on having such a offensive and speedy Pokemon like Regieleki on the field. Lunala's going to come in and have to take a taunt. I love seeing this choice on a Defiant Thunderous. You know, you still are able to shut down those status moves, but Lunala's not going to fall for it, not going to go for any Hypnosis here. Instead, the Moongeist Beam. Going to jump up into the sky and fire down a beam of light into that Gastrodon, but you can see it's barely doing anything here. Gastrodon able to survive, as Groudon's going to follow up the Max Quake. I like this being able to get good damage onto the Gastrodon and the KO to boot
knockout
and get the special defense boost. Poor Gastrodon's gone.
Not able to take that double up there from the Lunala and the Groudon. A huge knockout, huge advantage that Guillermo's just giving himself there, and not going for that Hypnosis, kind of suspecting maybe the Thunderous is going to have something like the Taunt to shut down that option. And also it is kind of risky in that situation because of the low accuracy that something like Hypnosis has, going for the more consistent option and really capitalizing in this position.
Now Eduardo forced down to the last two remaining Pokemon. So Rillaboom is going to rejoin the battle, set that grassy terrain up, but it is still taking a little bit of a nap here. I have to really credit Eduardo's Thunderous in this situation. You know, we often see a Thunderous and go, is it Defiant or is it Prankster? And having that flexibility of still having status support moves while also being an offensive powerhouse on the field allows Eduardo to be able to go for those moves. Unfortunately, however, for Eduardo, Guillermo seems to be in such a strong position. You've got both your restricteds here on the field.
Yeah, you do, and I think the one thing that Eduardo does have in his favor is he's still got access to Dynamaxing something. Could go for either of these Pokemon that are sitting on the field right now. Probably not as favorable for the Rillaboom because is it going to wake up this turn or not? And that's always a question you've got to ask yourself. But also, if you go for the Thunderous, have you got the attacking options to hit that Groudon for super effective damage? Obviously, you can hit the Lunala for good damage with your Flying Electric and
yeah, you could do some big damage with the Max move, for sure. But I think the Rillaboom might be high risk, high reward, Lee. As you mentioned earlier, with the move pool that it's got, it could go for something like a Max Darkness from that knockoff into the opposing Lunala. But instead, it is going to be that Thunderous. I think Eduardo wanting to make sure that if you're going for the Dynamax, you want to be able to go for your moves. Don't want to have to risk taking a turn off sleep.
And the the nice thing about the Thunderous on the field is, like we mentioned earlier, because of that Defiant ability that it's got access to, it's going to punish any time the Incineroar wants to come in onto the field and even further boost that Thunderous's attack.
Well, that time will be now because Lunala has been KO'd. Guillermo is going to be forced to bring that Incineroar onto the field and will be able to get the Defiant boost on that Thunderous. So Eduardo picking the perfect Pokemon to Dynamax, and this Max Airstream is going to be so critical towards the end game. Groudon is going to go for the Rock Tomb, not get the KO though, and I really like this play by Guillermo because, as I was about to say, the Airstream gives you the boost, but the Rock Tomb takes it away. But again, the Defiant is really paying off here. I think the speeds are going to be interesting going into this next turn because if that Thunderous can stick around, it's going to be able to get a KO thanks to all of the attack boosts it's getting.
And it's going to get another one as we speak with this Incineroar. Inevitably going to hit the field for Guillermo, going to activate that Defiant boost. And like you said, it's so important in regards to the speeds here, because if the Groudon can outspeed the Thunderous here, it's going to be able to knock it out before it is able to do something. So kind of mitigating any of the Defiant boost. Doesn't really matter if you're going to give it the boost, if you can knock it out before it can attack. But on the other side of the coin, if that Thunderous is still faster than that Groudon in particular, then it is going to be able to do some big impactful damage this next turn and maybe put the Rillaboom in a position where it's able to close the game out. Eduardo got himself into a great position in this end game that looked a little bit dicey earlier on.
I mean, that's the thing. We saw the Thunderous move first in the previous turn, so it's very likely here, considering that you can't fake it out and flinch it as it's in its Dynamax form. It could go for another Max Airstream, try and pick up a KO on that opposing Incineroar and leaving the Rillaboom to deal with the Groudon. It's going to go for the Grassy Glide, takes it just below 50% HP remaining as Thunderous can follow up with that Max Airstream into the opposing Incineroar. It's going to be able to get the KO!
It's a huge KO into the Incineroar here, and that puts Eduardo right back into this game. Outspeeding the Groudon, like we said, is the biggest thing here. The Grassy Glide as well, doing some really good damage into that Groudon now. And for this next turn, you're going to have another Grassy Glide that's going to be able to potentially pick up the knockout there after that residual burn damage.
And I mean, Side Relief for that Thunderous as well. The Sandstorm is gone because you can see it's taking that little bit of Life Orb recoil. If it was also taking that little bit of Sand Chip, then it could possibly end up KOing itself. It's not going to benefit from the grassy terrain as it's up in the sky. But I mean, what a fantastic way for Eduardo to put himself right back in the driving seat for these last couple of turns of game one. Rillaboom just needs to go for another Grassy Glide, deal a huge chunk to that Groudon, and at the end of the day, the burn's going to be the last bit of chip to deal with Groudon if it's even needed.
Yeah, and you've also got the Thunderous to contend with as well, with all of this Defiant boost, and Guillermo realizing that, conceding the first game, and Eduardo Cunha going 1-0 up in this first set of the World Championships VG Masters Final.
One game down, potentially one more to go for Eduardo in order to take that title. But if you're Guillermo, you're going to have to now think, I'm down one game, but I can still claw it back. We've seen it time and time again where players are able to focus and come in and take games 2 and 3. And this is going to be one big final to watch out for. Eduardo has the advantage now, and I think played so well around the Pokemon on the opposing side. We could see that Guillermo came in and immediately started targeting down that Rillaboom. But Rillaboom had the last laugh. It was there still at the end of the game and able to get those critical KOs.
Yeah, the whole way through that game, it looked like Guillermo was kind of capitalizing most turns and putting himself into a great position, and he was ahead, he got the Dynamax off, and he really got some return from his Groudon when he did Dynamax it, and it didn't look great for Eduardo, but I think in the back of his mind, he probably had that board position, the Rillaboom and the Thunderous in his mind, thinking, okay, if I can get through these Dynamax turns of Guillermo's, and I get my board position set up, I know my Rillaboom's only got, it can wake up on this next turn, and it will be able to attack, it will be impactful, but then the Incineroar is not going to be able to do anything, because if it does, I can punish that with my Defiant ability and really close out this game with the combination of Airstream and Grassy Glide.
I think one thing that was really detrimental for Guillermo there was getting the burn on the Groudon. It was extremely awesome to see the Sword Stance go up, puts him in a great position, but then the Calyrex coming in on Eduardo's side was just able to completely negate that. And then, yes, you're Dynamaxing up your Groudon, you look to be in a strong position, but you're not going to be able to get the big KOs. And the fact that you were still leaving Pokemon on the field meant that they had the opportunity to retaliate and get a KO in return. And I feel like if you're Eduardo here, you're going to want to try and make sure that you keep that Groudon in check in game 2.
Yeah, because the Sword Stance are so threatening, you know, if you take away the burn like you mentioned, then how much damage would that Rock Tomb have done to the Thunderous? Would it have been enough to potentially knock it out? And like you say, take it out of the equation, so that endgame isn't a situation anymore. So the burn is something to keep in mind. It has got its pluses in this match because it can't be then put to sleep, but maybe there's another route for both of these players to look at going into game 2.
Well, they're shaking things up a little bit. It's Zacian with the Thunderous for Eduardo. And on the opposing fight for Guillermo, it is the Grimmsnarl paired up with the fan favorite Charizard.
Charizard coming out here for Guillermo, and something he's not really leaned on too much in this tournament so far. So interesting to see that he's changing it up, going with his kind of plan B here, adjusting, and it's in a good position against the Zacian. But then you look on the other side of the field, and there's that Thunderous there that really threatens it quite hard. But you do have as well the Grimmsnarl. It is known for having screen support, so it is going to be able to help the defenses of that Charizard, although it will be slower than both things on Eduardo's side of the field, so you've got to be aware of that.
Well, straight out of the blocks here, Eduardo is going to go for that Dynamax. Judging by the item and, of course, the Pokemon on the field, it's going to be that Thunderous. So immediately applying great pressure with something like a Max Airstream in order to try and keep the speed advantage on Eduardo's side, particularly when you're facing down against something like a Charizard that can also go for those amazing Max Airstreams. It does look like it's going to be a Dynamax apiece, though, Lee. Do you think it's that Charizard?
It's got to be the Charizard. I'd be surprised if it was Grimmsnarl, but I think it will be. Yeah, both players going for their Dynamax here, or Gigantamax here with the Charizard. It is hitting the field. There's no Sun Up, so it's not going to have that solar power boost, but it'll be interesting to see what item is played on that Charizard.
Yeah, and I love the adjustment. Bringing Charizard into this game, too. You can get that G-Max Wildfire set up and start going for the residual damage. Grimmsnarl's going to help out as well with a scary face, reducing the speed of the opposing Zacian by 2 stages here. Thunderous is then going to be the first to move outside of that Prankster ability and going for the Max Airstream, and you can see that it is not enough to get the 2-hit on the opposing Charizard. It is, of course, going to give the speed boost to Eduardo, but this does still leave the Charizard in a position where it can go for some big damage with that G-Max Wildfire. It's going to fall down onto the opposing Zacian. It is not enough to get the KO, but the residual damage will lead.
That's a huge survival here. The Zacian getting that speed drop, so you think, oh no, it's in the worst possible position. It's not going to get any attacks off here, but it is, and it is able to go into that Grimmsnarl and pick up a big knockout, Lou.
It may be slow at the moment, but Zacian is still powerful. Gets the 1-hit KO on that Grimmsnarl. That now means Guillermo doesn't have the utility set up things like a Reflect or a Light Screen. Zacian will go down to that G-Max Wildfire, so a big KO apiece very early on in this game too. But the critical thing here, Lee, is they now have the option to bring a Pokemon in from the back.
Yeah, they do, and it'll be interesting to see what both players have kind of opted for this time around compared to that first game, because they've obviously mixed things up a little bit from that first game. But a big turn here. Both players kind of going straight in turn one with those Dynamax, the Gigantamax, and both players losing a pretty pivotal Pokemon to their side of the field, you know. The big thing for Guillermo is he's got no speed control now other than Max Airstream. But if you're going down the Max Airstream route, the Thunderous is already ahead of you, and it's already got a Max Airstream onto the field.
Yeah, we're now in a dangerous position for that Groudon, you know. It's great that it's coming in and throwing the Sun on the field to help Charizard out, using its solar power ability to boost up its moves. But we saw in the previous game how that Shadow Rider Calyrex that Eduardo has now brought in was able to just shut down that Groudon with a Will-O-Wisp. So if you're Guillermo now, do you play a little bit defensively, or do you maybe try and call a hard read and go for that Sword Stance?
It's hard to say, but the big thing is now when you look at the Calyrex, you'd be a bit concerned about the Focus Sash there, because you know, you need to break that, but with the residual damage that you're seeing, not going to get that, as we see that Charizard just go for the Max Guard this turn.
Yeah, so Charizard not taking any damage from the Max Lightning or the Astral Barrage, but Groudon is going to have to take a little bit of damage, does about a third there, and is able to fire off a Precipice Blade. Now, I love this play. You're not going to hit the Thunderous, but you're going to do a significant chunk to the Calyrex, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough when paired up with the Wildfire to actually get the KO. So Calyrex is going to hang around a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to get another opportunity to fire off another Astral Barrage if it wants to, or go for another option, potentially, that's carrying. We have seen that Will-O-Wisp, it can threaten the Groudon. If you can land that again, you really shut down the kind of offensive presence that the Groudon has.
Thunderous is going to go for a Max Lightning, this time find its mark on that Charizard and get the knockout against it. Big KO there for Eduardo, leaving Guillermo with just 2 Pokemon remaining. Groudon still out on the field, and the electric terrain is going to be set as well.
Yeah, and now the Calyrex is going to be able to get a single target Astro Barrage. It's going to be more powerful than that spread attack into this single target Groudon, and will it be enough to pick up the knockout?
This could be huge and swing the momentum into Eduardo's favor. The single target Astral Barrage will not get the KO!
It survives!
It goes for the Rock Tomb, able to just hang on and deal with that Calyrex. Calyrex is out of there, but I mean, what a precarious situation for Groudon. Thunderous still being so formidable as well. I mean, wow, what a turn. My heart is racing.
Both trainers are just trading blows at this point, picking up knockouts left, right, and center. And here we go, the Groudon survival. They're able to get the knockout onto the Calyrex. It's huge. Just out of, obviously, with the residual damage, they're helping out a bit. But both players now down to that last two Pokemon.
I mean, Incineroar is not the Pokemon you want to bring in while facing down against that Thundurus. It's going to be able to get a Defiant boost thanks to Intimidate being thrown down against it. And with the speed that Thundurus is applying at the moment, it's going to be in a great position to deal some good damage to something like this opposing Incineroar that we saw kind of play out towards the end of Game 1. The one issue we've got, though, is the Dynamax turns are over. You can now go for a fake out into Thundurus.
You can, yeah, and you've got to keep in mind that that residual damage will be stacking each turn as well for the next couple of turns. So that has to be kept in mind from Eduardo. He does have Rillaboom on the field, though. The grassy terrain is up. He has got access to Grassy Glide. Can go for it into that Groudon. You remove that, you only need to concentrate onto that Incineroar.
Oh, Rillaboom going to go for the fake out into the opposing Incineroar. As Thundurus files out with a Wild Charge. Not going to be able to get the KO, but of course Incineroar's not going to be able to move in this turn as Groudon goes for the Rock Tomb. Really targeting down the Thundurus and will be able to get the KO. It's just Rillaboom against Groudon and the Incineroar. Do you think Rillaboom's got enough, or are we going to see a Game 3?
This is going to go right down to the wire here. The Groudon on minimal health, but able to get the knockout onto that Thundurus here. And the Incineroar not in a great position, but is it in range from something that the Rillaboom's got? Maybe something like that high horsepower. Can it go into that slot, pick up the knockout, and then survive whatever the Groudon's able to throw out onto you to pick up the knockout the next turn with the Grassy Glide? Problem is, if the Groudon has got access to big fire type attack boosted by the sun, it will be able to potentially pick up a knockout onto the Rillaboom depending on how it's trained.
Yeah, Groudon just going for the Rock Tomb. Doesn't seem to be carrying that Fire-type move into the Rillaboom. Does a little bit of damage, of course, reducing the speed of that Rillaboom, allowing the Incineroar to go first in the sun with a Flare Blitz into Rillaboom. Gets the KO. We are in a Game 3 lead.
Here we go. There we go. Guillermo swinging that momentum back to bring this game back, tying it up, taking it to a Game 3 here. That was incredible. That was backwards and forwards. You know, they're both trading blows. What seemed like every turn, something was getting knocked out. A very fast-paced game, which is not what I expected going into a Game 2. Incredible set from both players. Guillermo doing extremely well, though, to get that end position like Eduardo got in that Game 1. He kind of flipped the tables there, and he pulled this back. 1-1 Lou. We're going into a Game 3.
I mean, both of our trainers there put the pedal to the metal, and the offensive pressure was on. I have absolutely mad respect for that Groudon as well, surviving on only 4 hit points remaining. It could have been a very different match and all over there for Guillermo if the Groudon wasn't able to survive, but it was able to and pushed through to get a Game 3. I mean, going into this point of the competition, it's one more game, and then we will have a world champion. It's going to be one of these guys, either Eduardo or Guillermo.
All comes down to this, Lou. I can't imagine how both players are feeling, though, right now. They must be feeling so nervous with knowing that everything's on the line going into this next match. And it's so close as well. You can see the caliber of both of these players. You know, the skill level is the pinnacle of this, you know, this scene, you know, in the VG format. These are the 2 top players in the 2022 format. And they're heading off here. And they're showing and giving everything in this match, and it all comes down to this next one game.
I mean, it's incredible. There was so many adaptations going into that Game 2, and when you're now going into a Game 3 and everything's on the line, do you maybe go back to the strategy of the game that you won? Or do you go for something completely different, throw off your opponent, and try and do something to enable you to get that win?
I think if you've got a trick up your sleeve that you maybe hold them back, this is the time to do it. Why sit on it? You know, this is the point. This is where the combination of that will pay off for you. So you've got to bring it this game if you feel and believe like it's the right thing to do, of course. I think we've seen some interesting approaches from both players here. We've seen which Pokemon are the pivotal ones for both sides of the field. I think for Eduardo, it's obviously that Thundurus. And can Guillermo kind of control it? He does have options to hit it for good damage. Obviously, we didn't see the Lunala in that match, but it does have access to that Meteor Beam. It is an option there. But on Guillermo's side, the big threat is obviously that Charizard.
And speaking of Charizard, it's back. Paired up with the Grimmsnarl once again, and Eduardo has gone for the Thundurus and Zacian combination for this Game 3.
Yeah, same Pokemon out for this Game 3, so both players very comfortable with their choices here. Got the same situation again with the Charizard. It is putting a lot of, you know, it's threatening that Zacian. But without the sun, we know the Zacian can survive the big G-Max Wildfire, you know, at least get an attack off before it goes down. So that's something to consider, maybe adapt, change a little bit going into this turn.
I was going to say, I'd probably love to see just the Rogue Groudon switch in, but not happening here. It's going to be a Dynamax on that Thundurus. Going to be playing out very similarly to the way Game 2 is here. Both of these trainers decided to Dynamax very, very early in Game 2 and apply that offensive pressure straight away. We see the Dynamax for Eduardo, but not for Guillermo in this turn, instead opting to go for a protect and play a little bit defensively. Coming back onto the battlefield, Grimsnarl's going to set up the reflect, and I really like this adjustment. The Scary Face wasn't too beneficial in the end. Being able to get the defensive measures up are going to protect you from both of these physical attackers on Eduardo's side. Behemoth Blade comes out from the opposing Zacian, however, it will connect onto that Grimsnarl, but with reflect in play, it's still not going to be able to survive.
No, it goes down, and that I think that the decision here, you know, Guillermo's like, if the Zacian stays on the field, which it will this turn, I'm protecting with my Charizard, I have to get some more out of it. I didn't get any value out of it that last game because the Scary Face, it was gone after the Zacian kind of was knocked out. Now you've got the reflect in play against these big physical attackers. It's way more impactful, especially protecting your Charizard that you saw obviously taking the max airstream there that turn, but not taking as much damage as Guillermo would have been taking that previous game without the reflect.
I mean, this is where things could change slightly. You've got the Sun on the field. Charizard could be in a position to go for that Gigantamax and put down big pressure with a G-Max Wildfire, try and deal with the Zacian. But the issue is Eduardo has got such speedy Pokemon at the moment. Something like a Max Lightning followed up by Behemoth Blade could be enough to completely remove that Charizard from play.
Yeah, and that's the you know, if you get a Max Lightning into that slot, you've got to be very aware, but the Reflect gonna at least help you take that a lot better. And then you get that the G-Max Wildfire off. You're a bit later on in the game as well when you decide to go for the Gigantamax, if it is the Charizard at all. You know, you've got an extra turn of that Gigantamax because you've kind of protected the last turn, whereas, you know, Eduardo's got this turn with his Dynamax Thunderous and then one more turn, and then that's the end of it. So he needs to really make sure that he's getting the most out of these turns while it's still intact. And be interested to see if Guillermo is indeed going for that this turn.
I mean, you're right, picking the time to click that Dynamax button can be so critical, and even though Eduardo's already gone for it, Guillermo held back a turn, and Gigantamax Charizard is now going to be on the battlefield applying pressure, doubling up its HP stat to give it the extra bulk it may need in order to survive a double up. If you're Guillermo, you want to get the G-Max Wildfire out on the field. Zacian is going to move first, going for that Behemoth Blade. Now, even though it's not necessarily super effective against the Charizard, it's still in its Dynamax form. It's going to do a good chunk of damage and possibly put it in a base.
It's down. That is a huge turn. I think you were banking on that Charizard surviving here. It was slower than both the Pokemon on Eduardo's side of the field. If the Charizard was able to survive through that Reflect, then it would have been able to get an attack off and really swing that momentum back into Guillermo's favor. But unfortunately, that was not the case. Now that huge Behemoth Blade able to get enough damage where the Thunderous able to capitalize and pick up the knockout and not have any impact from that Charizard at all.
I mean, the crowd is going wild here with 2 turns in, 2 KOs down for Guillermo, and Eduardo in such a strong, commanding position to try and take the title.
Yeah, and now it gets a little bit worse as well with that Thunderous's Defiant ability activating, getting an attack boost from the Intimidate on that Incineroar. And the difference is this time around, Eduardo has still got that Zacian on the field and a very healthy Thunderous now. Boosted attack, it's going to be doing a lot of damage into that Incineroar.
Well, Zacian, I think, wisely going for the Protect here. You've got Fake Out on the opposing side. You don't want to be accidentally flipped, but there's no Fake Out, actually. It's just going to be a max Airstream into the Incineroar. Not enough to get the KO, but again, Eduardo just dealing so much damage against Guillermo that there isn't really the respite to have any option for recovery. Speed is obviously going to boost up on Eduardo's side as Groudon goes for the Rock Tomb, trying to counter that speed boost, but just dealing such insignificant damage. Thunderous is just in such a healthy position with another Defiant boost that it is so strongly positioned to get a KO on this next turn. That said, Incineroar has something to say about it. It's like, I'm sorry, Lou, no, I've had enough of Thunderous, let's get it out of here. I want a KO too.
Yeah, and you see that the double up really nice as well. Obviously taking advantage of the turn where there is fake out pressure. That's why we saw the Zacian protect there, not do any damage this turn, and really Guillermo capitalizing on it. And he has to capitalize like that every turn going forward now. Unfortunately, the Calyrex Shadow Rider now hitting the field, which is going to be faster than both that Groudon and the Incineroar, and the Zacian in a position to potentially pick up the knockout here. And the double up onto the Groudon looks like it's incoming.
And in contrast to previous matches in this set, we know the focus sash is on that Calyrex, but there's no Wildfire and no Sand to chip away at it. So if you're Guillermo, you have to double into it to remove it from the field. Zacian's going to go for the Behemoth Blade into Groudon, not dealing too much damage, but just chipping away at it to allow the Calyrex to return with an Astral Barrage. And the Grimmsnarl earlier did not set up a light screen, so this is going to deal big damage, get the KO on Incineroar, and put Groudon in range of a KO in the next turn.
This is getting right right down to the wire here. We are seeing that Grimnir ability activate and getting a boost in its special attack for the Calyrex here, so it's going to hit even harder that next turn. Precipice Blades does connect, but not enough to take down the Calyrex here for Eduardo.
I mean, you get rid of the Zacian and you bring Eduardo down to the last 2 remaining Pokemon, but we've already seen the way the speeds are playing out. Rillaboom's going to join the field, however, set that grassy terrain, and I think Rillaboom's one of the key Pokemon in games 1 and 2. But in this game 3, it's really been coming down to the way that Thundurus was able to pivot around and have this Calyrex in a position where it's going to be able to get a KO.
Yeah, and I think the key factor there was how long that Zacian was allowed to stick around on the field. And as we see, Eduardo Cunha
is your 2022 Pokemon World Champion!
Incredible games, incredible set. Massive congratulations to Eduardo, our 2022 Pokemon World Champion.
That was incredible. The crowd is going wild. Eduardo is celebrating on the stage. Huge congratulations to our champion. Wow. I mean, what a set.
I'm still catching my breath. I'm sure everyone here is. What a moment. And for us to be here to experience it, incredible. Massive congratulations to both of our competitors here. Performed extremely well throughout this entire event. And what a set. It was perfect. A perfect way to end a perfect weekend.
And you know what makes it 10 times more perfectly? Gastrodon is a world champion.
I knew you'd be happy about that. Yeah, the Gastrodon has, and it was, you know, it might not have been as impactful as we wanted it to be in that game, but it was there, and it definitely did a job when it was called upon throughout this tournament. The plays there from both players were incredible. You know, we saw the game 1, Guillermo capitalizing and using his kind of, what he's renowned for, play style, to really take the game to take the game to Eduardo's side of the field, and it was just incredible to see. Then Eduardo adjusts a little bit in that second game. Incredible to see how he was able to maybe identify some ways around what Guillermo was trying to do. Obviously, there was adjustments as well for both sides of the field, but that Thundurus was so impactful, was able to really shift the momentum there, and then we really saw how impactful it was that second game, and how getting rid of the Charizard was the big thing for Eduardo, and closing that up in him winning him the title.
I mean, I think the Charizard adaptation for Game 2 was really good for Guillermo. You know, being able to get the G-Max Wildfire on the field and applying such formidable pressure with a Pokemon that can deal so much damage to a lot of the Pokemon on Eduardo's side, like the Rillaboom. You can also deal well with the Thundurus, the Zacian, for example. And I feel like coming into that Game 3, Eduardo just knew that he had to get rid of it and called all the double targeting perfectly in order to get those KOs. And we saw in the Game 2 how close he was to actually wrapping it up in a 2-0 set if he'd been able to KO that Groudon. But thankfully for Guillermo, it was able to survive and push to a Game 3.
Yeah, and that's the big thing there. We were treated to a Game 3, which is what it's all about. You really want these games to come down to the wire, and I really think it pays tribute to how, you know, skilled both of these players are, and it was a real showcase today, and an exceptional game between two top players from Europe. And I think the big things from the game were that the Thundurus was a massive impact, and the adjustment where Eduardo decided to bring it over the Gastrodon, didn't decide to lead it, and said, well, okay. I mean, you saw how fast-paced that second game was. It was way more fast-paced than that even first game, where they just trading blows one after another, and then it got to the end position where Eduardo was in a position to you know, close that one up.
I mean, it is the World Championships. You have to lay it all out on the table and have no regrets about your play. And one thing that I really loved about the way Guillermo played that, particularly, I think very early on, going for the Hypnosis so early, going for the Sword Stance, he was prepared to take those risks and capitalize on them. But just unfortunately for him, Eduardo showing why he also was worthy of this finalist spot, because he was able to play around it and go, I see the opportunity you're going to try and go for, and I'm going to negate your impact of it.
Yeah, and almost switching role reversals with these Pokemon choices as well, you know, like I mentioned there, just leading out with the Thundurus and saying, oh, well, I'm just going to get these airstreams onto the field. I'm just going to get the damage on, and I'm going to prevent you from bringing that Incineroar in whenever you feel like it. And if you do decide to go for the Rock Tomb, well, I don't mind the speed drop, really, because I've already had a speed boost, so you're just kind of mitigating my already fast speed. So, you know, I think that things like that identified throughout the set were the big things, and why Eduardo's been able to kind of move on and take the trophy.
Well, I think it's time to kick it over to Anna in the stage to interview our newest world champion.
The casters just called you the newest world champion. How does it feel to be called world champion?
It's insane.
I'm speechless. Well, not really speechless, otherwise I wouldn't be here, but I'm just so happy. I don't know how to describe it. Thank you for everything, everyone, really.
Let's reflect on the match just for a second.
Yes.
What was the moment that you think, when you look back on this in many years, what's going to be that most memorable, important moment during this match?
I think trusting myself on not going back to my game 1 plan in game 3, knowing that it was likely that it would stick to his game-winning plan in game 2 was extremely key. And also believing that attacking there with Zacian was the right play. Going in and getting rid of the Grimmsnarl would put me in the right spot to clean up. And yeah, just trusting myself, trusting my ability to flow chart the matchup and know what to do in the end. And yeah, I'm just happy I stuck to that.
Learning how to trust yourself takes some serious practice and preparation. I know that there are a lot of people who have helped you with that. Do you want to say hello or thank you to anyone?
Yes, thank you all so much. I would, trust me when I say this, I know it's cliche, but I would not have been here without all the support and help I get from everyone. Obviously wouldn't be here without my family either, especially my mom, who've been just supporting me always and making me a better person, helped me develop into a much better human being than what I was, and being able to stand here proud of my accomplishment despite what I might have done in the past.
That's wonderful. And what advice now from this spot would you like to give others who someday will look to you for advice as world champion?
Of course, the advice is to, never fear learning from others. There's no shame in reaching out, asking for help, be it in Pokemon or in life. It's absolutely no shame. We all need help. We cannot live alone. And yeah, just, stick to your friends too, because those are the ones that you will take out of this game. It's not the trophies, it's not the Pokemon itself, it's what you learn and the friends you make along the way.
That's such meaningful advice. Thank you so much. Casters, back to you.
Beautiful. What are some wonderful words there. Massive congratulations to him. But fortunately, this is the sad part because that is it. It's exciting, it's overjoying because we've got a brand new champion and we've had, day 1, day 2, and then we had the top cut, and now we've had Championship Sunday, and it's over, and we've been able to crown our champion. It's been an emotional roller coaster. We've seen some amazing games this weekend. We've had some amazing experiences. People sharing them, coming here, after so many years where we weren't able to have this event, and for it to be back now, and then to kind of cap it off with this match. That speech right here with all of you, it's just a really precious and special moment.
I couldn't put it any better myself, Lee. I think I'm tearing up a little bit. The emotions have been incredible, and we're now here finishing off Championship Sunday after having day 1, day 2, top cut, and that phenomenal finals, and it has just been the most incredible weekend of memories for Pokemon. But let's just refresh a little bit how the final bracket looked for the video game series. There were so many amazing players throughout all of the World Championships, but you can see how our top 8 came down to top 4 to the finals, and there you see Eduardo being the victor at the end of the day.
Incredible routes, you look at the players that these two have kind of overcome to get to the finals today. It's absolutely incredible. The caliber of players, you always want to judge yourself against the best, and that's what these two players have done to get to the finals. And Eduardo obviously judging himself against the best, against Guillermo, because he is an extremely high-level, top-caliber player. So amazing journeys. It's been a special one to be a part of and kind of watch the journey unfold this weekend.
I mean, the show's not quite over yet. We will, of course, have our amazing closing ceremony, which I am sure everybody is looking forward to. But just to kind of sign off a little bit from the desk here, I have been Leviza at Josh Cromie, casting alongside Lee Provost, and it has been such a joy to cast with you after so many years working together.
It's been
amazing. Here at Worlds, at Finals, amazing.
I'm going to cut you off. Before we do anything else, throughout our time, we have had a bit of a trend, especially this season, and it is our cheeky little friend. So we got you a gift to celebrate Gastrodon. And obviously you're doing well in the final as well.
It's a world champion. I'm honored to have you join us here on the desk, Gastrodon. Oh, I mean, he doesn't look too happy, but you know.
He's happy.
He's only got a little bit of screen time.
He's really
Let's
happy.
pop in there, and he can round out the show. And from both myself and Lee, our other video game casters, Rosemary, Adam, Sierra, and Joe, we want to say a thank you for coming on this journey with us. And sit back, relax, and enjoy that closing ceremony.
Oh, man.
Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today we have crowned a bunch of new Pokemon World Champions, and to recap the action, I have some wonderful casters for all of you. Got some new friends here on the couch. I mean, first of all, that finals was crazy. As the VG person, you know, actually, you know, a bunch of us are VG. Gabby now on Go. Sorry. But, I mean, first of all, that finals was truly incredible. I think it lived up to the expectations. Congratulations to Eduardo, obviously, for one of the most, if not the most dominant World Championship victory in video game championship history. And I kind of want to just go through all of the respective games and what the most exciting moments for all of you were this weekend.
Well, we definitely have that VGC representation around here, so it's fantastic. But no, honestly, at every point of the competition, Eduardo, you cannot deny that he was on a different level this weekend, every point of the road, and it was so cool to see this face-off in the finals. And we were out there watching it with the crowd. There are some points of the competition you do not know at any point who's going to come out ahead, and I think being able to have that going down into the World's Finals is spectacular.
Yeah, for Pokemon Go, I mean, we had some really fun times in our finals. We actually had a best of 5 into a bracket reset, into another best of 5, and both best of 5s hit all 5 games. So it took 10 games to determine the first Masters Division World Champion in Pokemon Go, which was super, super hype. And it's only the beginning. I mean, this was our first year at Worlds, and we're already on our way to our next regional championship series. And who knows, you know? Who knows who's going to be there next year?
I think when it comes to the TCG, just the thing I was most excited about was just the wide variety of decks that we got to see. Like going into day 1, going into day 2, we had expectations about the metagame, and one thing that happens consistently with the TCG is the casters expect one thing, and the players are always mixing it up. As the field narrowed down, we still got to see decks that, like Palkia for sure, that were all over the place that we were expecting to see. But even those individual matches were incredibly hyped going to game 3. You know, when your opponent plays Roxanne, that resets your opponent down to 2 cards, and then you have no resources left, and you have to get that final top deck to bring yourself back into the game. A lot of clutch moments in the grand finals for those too.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we had some really great finals throughout all the different games this year. And of course, we had 5 different games alone at this World Championship. That's the most, I think, ever. And it's just amazing to see so many Pokemon fans from all around the world come to Worlds after a very long time. I'm sure all of us missed it. I missed it very much, and the energy out there was absolutely electric. You know, I want to also let you guys highlight maybe some of the biggest moments where maybe players who don't follow the respective games that you all casted this weekend, you know, what's the big picture summary? You know, what were the most exciting moments that you think you can convey to the viewers?
Well, I think one of the biggest things for VGC doesn't really come down to a particular moment that happened over the weekend, but the fact that this is the first Worlds in a while, and it's going to be the only World Championships for the Sword and Shield era. We're going to Scarlet and Violet soon, so the World Champions this weekend was the only show of what the Sword and Shield meta has to offer, and the people who were able to come out on top can indisputably say that they were the best at this era of Pokemon competition, and I think that's really special in a way.
Yeah, I think for
I wish we could have
a
World Championship for Sword and Shield that doesn't have restricteds.
Just how excited everybody got. You know, the energy in the hall during the finals, even during the matches leading up to the grand finals, was just absolutely electrifying. And it's such a great time to pick up the game. There's an event going on right now where you can actually catch a lot of the Pokemon that ended up being super relevant to the tournament. And I'm hoping that people see the excitement and just want to join in. And I think that this weekend overall was a great showcase of, hey, this is what the game is, this is how you play, and maybe you can be that next champion. And
when it comes to the TCG, the fact of the matter is when we went into the top of the bracket, the players were already prepared to counter the best deck from the previous big tournament in NAIC. And so the quick adaptation, I think, is really the name of the game for the TCG. If you don't follow it, that's one of the reasons it becomes hard to follow, is because things are constantly adapting and changing. So if you want to jump into TCG and really have it speak to you, you've got to get your friends together and just dive in head first. The community is incredible, and they want to show everybody the magic themselves.
I absolutely love that. And a quick reminder for all of you, this is not the closing ceremony. We're just recapping some of the fun action here. We're all very excited to watch the closing ceremony ourselves. So if you're in the arena right now, don't go anywhere. We're currently setting up for that. If you're watching online as well, don't go anywhere. Don't exit out of your browsers, because we have some really exciting announcements and obviously a very exciting celebration for our brand new World Champions. But as we kind of just set up for the closing ceremony right now, I also want to ask all of you, what was maybe the most exciting match that was on stream that maybe viewers weren't able to tune into the entire tournament you would really highlight?
Do I have to go first for this one? Because I feel like I need a moment to kind of...
Yeah.
There's a lot of great stuff.
I feel like I know Gabby's
reverse
answer.
order?
But
reverse order.
Okay, great. So for the TCG, I had the pleasure of actually casting the junior finals, and great glimpse into the future of the card game. But I talked a little bit earlier about Roxanne, where your opponent can set you down to 2 cards left in your hand, and you have one more draw to kind of make the magic happen. One player got that card, played the Roxanne to put their opponent in the same situation, and then right back. That clutch final draw into the back and forth into the final draw was glorious. Please rewind the tapes, watch it for yourself. It was amazing.
Yeah, I feel like my answer is a little bit cliche, honestly, but it really was the Masters Grand Finals. I think that it was a really good showcase of, okay, this is what the game is currently. It wasn't just all your Trevenants, your Reggie Steels, your Walreins, which is a core that's really dominated the regional championship series up until now. There was a Shadow Venusaur, there was a Altaria that did really well. And it's just, again, a really great showcase of this is what the game has to offer, and this is what high-skilled level play is. So, a little bit cliche saying the grand finals. I think there were also some amazing matches leading up to that as well, but maybe start with that one and just work backwards, get to the beginning.
Then the spoilers.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, I can't pick just one for VGC.
That's okay. I'll give you 2.
So sorry. Well, I just want to say there's a couple of matches that featured some really unique picks. The fact that we got to see Galysopod come out, we got to see a couple of the restricteds that we don't get to see quite as often that have actually been really strong in the format, like Lunala. And any matches that start to feature those sorts of Pokemon, there is even Ditto coming out at some point, are really nice, because I feel like there was actually a lot for this meta format to offer. I know that there has been a lot of Groudon and Kyogre and Zacian running around, but there's actually so much more. We can't highlight every single match. So being able to see those games that had those unique Pokemon, realizing there is more than
Pokemon
just
Go is really slow right now.
the finals that we have going on is cool. But to say just one, I liked Blastoise in the juniors finals.
Blastoise actually dominated the junior finals. I was so happy to see that pick. I think juniors, especially across all our games, right, is always an exciting division to watch, because maybe it's not always, just the very meta stuff that makes it all the way to the top. And of course, you see surprises in seniors and masters as well, but in juniors, I feel like there's just a lot of room for that kind of variety. And so, of course, it was a long road to get to this World Championship, and we actually have a video recapping the road to this World Championship specifically.
Every player's goal is to compete at the World Championship of Pokemon.
It's like magic.
With a break as long as this, people are here to show that they're ready to keep things kicking.
I'm predetermined to prove myself.
When the season got announced again, it felt incredible.
I was definitely taking the game for granted.
Having close friends is the game. That's why I love it so much, and that's really why it all means so much.
It's so good to actually be back in that scene.
Hopefully I'll get the trophy this year.
Well, yeah.
What a video.
Just a short hype video. I mean, I like to hear the thoughts and little snippets from everybody who's been involved up to this point. Players, casters, even our wonderful production staff who've been running around behind the scenes. Big shout out to all of them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this World Championship was definitely more magnificent than any one that I'd participated in before. I've been to almost, I think, every Worlds from 2011 onwards, and in the one in Orlando back in 2008 as well. And yeah, it was like I walked in and I remember I like turned to the right side, which is kind of where all the players were competing. I was like, okay, this looks like normal. And I turned to the left side where the stage is set up and it just looked absolutely crazy. We had, it's like double story. The stage itself is grand. There were bleachers. I think it fit over like 1,000 people. It was also amazing to see the crowd out there, right? Like it was literally full. People were trying to get down to watch the finals and all the seats were filled up. And so we've been talking a lot about our individual games, but I also want to hear what excited you most about this Worlds.
I mean, I'll go first. I think that it's just been incredible to be back. Like, it's been such a long time since the Worlds in 2019 in DC. And I had this amazing moment on the first day where I saw a good friend of mine who I hadn't seen in years, literally since that Worlds. And like being able to say hello and hug and be like, I haven't seen you in forever, how have you been? And just having those moments consistently really is something special. And definitely something I'm gonna remember from Worlds.
Yeah, we've waited so long to have Worlds again, and I never wanted to have that wait, but it was worth the wait. The way everything has leveled up. There's the cable cars that were outside. I don't know if you all got a chance to ride them.
I rode them before they got the decorations on, and I was like, come on.
You have to go back.
I know. Hopefully they're still there.
Yes. But like everything that they've done to level up this Worlds is amazing. And as well, we've all been playing online. There's been these communities that have evolved, and being able to meet people for the first time that we've gotten to know for years, and then meeting people we haven't seen for years, it just seems like the biggest family reunion. And I know it goes back to your answer, but it's really true, and that's why this Worlds is going to be one of the more special ones for me.
I mean, this is my first time in London, so I have that double whammy of being at such a big event and finally being here in this beautiful town. And it's just, everything is so grand. When I saw the stage for the first time, we were here for rehearsals and they were still getting everything set up, but even not fully put together, it was still jaw-dropping. Just the love and care that's put into every single aspect of this venue, all of the Pokemon posters and everything, larger than life, and it's just a great love letter to the fans of the community, and I can just feel that love and energy the first moment you step into this building.
I think for me personally, there were a couple things, but first of all, when I saw that stage, I was like, man, I want to be out there as a player again. Like, it feels so sick, right, to be able to win on that kind of stage with those kind of fans cheering. And I think each year as the game grows more and more, all the games grow more and more, it's amazing to see it become more of a spectator sport, right? And so I think it's just amazing how much larger these events have been. And I think also one thing that's really exciting is that I've met so many people who this is their first tournament. This is their first time attending not just Worlds, but a Pokemon tournament. And I think for a lot of players or a lot of kind of casual fans, it's not about, oh, I really, really love TCG or VGC or Go specifically. It's more, I just like Pokemon. And I think this year's World Championship was such a beautiful celebration of that, where there were so many cool things that you could do outside of just watching the competitions themselves. And I think that's amazing, right? The number of fans that I've met who are maybe local to London. I also love that, this is the first European World Championship. Feels long overdue. I'm very excited to see where the next World Championship will be as well. I think we'll be finding out shortly. But I think it's just amazing to be able to celebrate Pokemon and not focus just on the competition part. Obviously, the competition part is what we're here for, but there's so much more to the table as well. So I think one point I want to talk about is, Sierra, you earlier mentioned, that's it for Sword and Shield. We're moving on to Scarlet and Violet. So what are you all looking forward to in the subsequent World Championships and the upcoming season?
Man, I don't even know. I haven't even thought about the next Worlds. I've been so focused on this Worlds and everything that it has to offer. I think for myself, being pretty new to VGC, being able to play from the beginning when Scarlet Violet comes out and see how everything involves is really exciting for myself personally. And I think it'll be really cool for the people who did just start playing while there was that break in that off season, to be able to come into a game right at the beginning and experience the entire competitive season all at once, be able to go for your invite at the start of the competitive season, be familiar all with that format and go to Worlds. And I think just that translation, our own VGC Road to Worlds, I'll steal it from TCG here, it will be really cool to see how that pans out.
I feel like my answer is a little bit different, because while I am looking forward to the competition, and I'm sure that there'll be many new Pokemon available to Pokemon Go players over the next year, of course, but the Pikachu that's always revealed with the cute outfit and the costume and the art, I mean, I love the artwork that's always made for the World Championship so much, and I feel like they've done an incredible job over the past couple years of bringing in like local flair. So I'm really hoping that next year's Worlds is somewhere where Pikachu can get a cool outfit, because that's what I'm looking forward to.
And for the card game, I know that we are a little bit luckier in that aspect. I feel like our formats are constantly evolving and changing because of the new sets that we get. And the upcoming set, we're getting the return of the Lost Zone, so that's going to be a flexible mechanic that a lot of players are excited for. There is, you know, hints here and there that the format might be slowing down as we move away from Pokemon V Max to V Star, less prizes on the line per knockout, so games are going to be extended a little bit more, and I know our competitive players really like to have a lot of turns in their game. They want to have tons of decisions, way more avenues to try to outplay their opponents, and I hope that, you know, the glorious Pokemon card game designers can deliver.
Absolutely. I think one thing that makes Worlds really special for Pokemon is that it's not just one game, but we had 5 different games, right? We had VGC, Go, TCG, Unite, and then Pokken as well. Pokken, of course, had a very beautiful send-off. This is the last time that it'll be here at the World Championships, and for Go and Unite, this is the first time it's at the World Championships. And so I'm sure there are a lot of people who are watching right now who might not be specifically tied to one game. Maybe they're interested in one, but let's say they want to make it to the World Championships, right, or start their competitive journey. What advice would you, give for your respective games on how they can get here and maybe be a world champion next year?
Just do it. Just don't wait. Don't wait to learn how to play the game properly. Don't wait until you feel like you're good. Just go out there and play. It does not matter how bad you are. Sword and Shield, the rentals were amazing. Pick one of those up and go and lose a bunch of battles and slowly learn how to play the game. Find that time to enjoy and love the game for what it is, and then start building up from there. It's okay to go and play games with your friends and slowly learn along the ways. We're watching the top tier competition at World. Not everything is like that, and I think there's something beautiful about that as well.
Yeah, I think one thing that's true about VGC definitely, and Go as well, is that sometimes you get this mindset like, I have to do it all. I have to build my team. I have to be perfect, the perfect player, the perfect team builder and analyst and all that. And that's not true. You can just pick up a rental code in VGC, or you can just, look at what the top trainers are using in Go and say, well, I have these 3 Pokemon, why don't I just jump on the ladder and just start practicing, start learning my counts, start learning my matchups, and pick up the game and try. So I agree. I think if you want to be here next year, the first step is to just start trying. And then as you play with your friends, as you get that practice in, you'll start building those skills and you'll take your first step on the way.
You'll eventually get better.
Yeah, exactly.
For the card game, you have the opportunity to connect with other people who enjoy that hobby.
I wonder how many people use a rental team.
Don't be afraid that you aren't good when you jump in, right? Because everybody's just there, they want to share with you. And for the TCG, that's what the players want. They want you to play no matter what format, no matter what level, they're gonna help you out. And I think that the key is, if you want to start your journey into the competitive scene, you just have to play at your local shop. You can play online. There's lots of great communities and tutorials online to teach you. But, I started out just collecting the cards before I even knew how to play. So I think, as you said, Sierra, just rekindling that love and finding your favorite Pokemon and bringing it with you wherever you go is going to be, I think, the key to getting into the card game.
I absolutely love that. I think for me, Pokemon has been so important in my life. I started playing this when I was a little kid. I literally competed in the World Championship in the juniors division when I was 10 years old. Here we are, literally 14 years later, right? And it's just meant so much to me. And I think what's really beautiful about Pokemon is, one, it's a outlet for competition, right? And I think there's so many different ways that you can choose to have that outlet because there's so many different games that you can pick, right? If you are skilled at a card game, the trading card games for you. And if you're skilled at mobile games, right? You've got Go and you've got Unite and of course VGC. And so to me, there's like a little bit of everything for everyone, which I think is beautiful. I also, really just love, once again, that in Pokemon we have the different age divisions. I think it was so important for me when I was a kid to be able to, compete and also be able to actually perform well, because I was competing against kids around my age. And so I think Pokemon has so many things that make it unique as a franchise, and as us, you know, for competitive games, there's just so much to offer for everyone. So I think we're actually ready to get started with the award ceremony very shortly.
Yes.
But thank you so much for joining me. I had a blast here, and I think once again, one of my favorite things about Worlds is being able to interact with so many different people from all kinds of different communities in Pokemon, not just one specific game. So thank you so much for joining me for the couch. This is my final time on the stream here as well. And so yes, really, really appreciate you all for tuning in, and let's take it to a short break.
No, no break. I'm on Scarlet and Violet. Oh, here's something. Oh. I lied. Pretty cool. Just chilling outside watching Pokemon. Unite was really fun to watch. They're really dragging it out. At least the music's good.
Wow, trainers, after 4 days and thousands of epic battles, it is time we come together and celebrate our champions. Each of you played your very best through friendly competition and are deserving of congratulations as world competitors. Please give yourselves a big round of applause.
Yeah, go me.
This year we have seen some of the highest levels of competition ever at the Pokemon World Championships. And I hope that you've made many new friendships and memories. To honor our champions and finalists of the Pokemon TCG and Pokemon VGC, once again, please welcome Mr. Ishihara to the stage.
This この週末のポケモントレーナーの皆さんのバトルを見て、喜びとインスピレーションでいっぱいになりました。
Trainers, your battles this weekend have filled me with joy and inspiration.
皆さんが情熱を持ってプレイしてくれるおかげで、私たちはポケモンのゲームをこうして作り続けることができています。
It's thanks to all you passionate players that we're able to continue creating Pokemon games.
この秋からポケモンの世界の新しい地方での冒険が始まります。これからそのカードとゲームの最新の情報をお届けしたいと思います。
This fall, a new journey in a new region in the world of Pokemon is about to begin. And today, I would like to share some news about our upcoming games and the future of the trading card game.
まずはこの映像をご覧ください。
First, please take a look at this video.
Yes. No. Cute. The Magnezone have 330 HP. EX.
Minasan, こんにちは。クリーチャーズの長島です。ご覧いただいた映像は2023年から始まるポケモンカードゲームスカーレット&バイオレットシリーズの世界初公開映像です。 ポケモンワールドチャンピオンシップスにご参加の皆様と、放送を見てくださっている世界中の方々に向けて、ご覧いただいた映像についてより詳しくお話ししたいと思います。映像内で登場した EX は、今回のシリーズを象徴するロゴとなっており、生命感を感じるスマートな強さを表現したデザインとなっています。ポケモン EX は種、1進化、2進化、それぞれの進化段階で登場し、高い HP に加えて強力な技や特性を持っている代わりに、倒すことができればサイドを2枚取ることができます。そんなポケモン EX の中でも特に2進化のポケモン EX は取られるサイドは2枚ですが、ポケモン VMAX に並ぶ高い HP と少ないエネルギーで強力な技を繰り出せるポケモンが多く、一気に戦況を覆す力を持っています。このように強力な2進化のポケモン EX をはじめ、様々なポケモンたちが活躍する幅広い環境になっていきます。さらにスカーレット&バイオレットシリーズでは、逆転も大事なテーマになっていて、逆転のきっかけとなり得る能力を持ったポケモン、トレーナーズ、エネルギーなどが登場予定となります。今後シリーズを通してまだ見ぬポケモンやおなじみのポケモンたちもポケモン EX として登場していきますので、続報をお待ちください。ここまでお話をさせていただきましたポケモンカードゲームのスカーレット&バイオレットシリーズは、ポケモンカードゲームのニュースタンダードとしてこれまで以上の拡張性を持たせ、様々な形でゲームに刺激を与えていきます。ぜひこれからのポケモンカードゲームの進化をお楽しみに。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
長嶋さんありがとうございました。来年の世界大会では大きなインパクトがありそうです。
Thank you, Mr. Nagashima. That looks like we'll have quite the impact on the TCG at next year's Worlds.
それでは今年の入賞者とチャンピオンを表彰する前に、もう一つお知らせしたいニュースがあります。
Now, before we honor our finalists and champions, I have one more announcement I'd like to share.
こちらをご覧ください。
Please take a look.
All right. What? What? Wow. The game's gonna change so much. All right. That substitute, though.
11月18日発売のポケットモンスタースカーレット、バイオレットをぜひ楽しみにしていてください。
Please look forward to Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet coming November 18th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ishihara, for those exciting announcements. And now, it's time to turn our attention to crowning this year's world finalists and world champions of the Pokemon trading card game. Are you ready? First, welcome the Junior Division finalist from Canada, Tristan C. Junior Division World Champion from Japan, Rikuto Ohashi! The Senior Division finalist from the United States, Sebastian Lasmet. Your 2022 Senior Division World Champion from the United States, Liam Halliburton. The Masters Division finalist from Japan, Daichi Shimada. The 2022 Masters Division World Champion from Czechia, Andrzej Skubal. Congratulations to all our 2022 Pokemon TCG World Championship finalists. And now, let's meet your 2022 Pokemon video game finalists. First, the Junior Division finalist from Australia, Kiara Nguyen. The 2022 Junior Division World Champion from Japan, Kosaku Miyamoto. The Senior Division finalist from Australia, Nicholas Khan. 2022 Senior Division World Champion. From Japan, Yasuharu Shimizu. From Spain, Guillermo Castilla-Diaz. The 2022 Masters Division World Champion. From Portugal, Eduardo Cunha. Championship finalists. And now, trainers, let's give a final round of applause for all of your 2022 Pokemon World Champions.
トレーナーの皆さん、今年のご活躍、改めておめでとうございます。
Once again, congratulations to all of you on your performance this weekend.
最後にもう一つ、皆さんにお知らせしたいことがあります。
There's one more thing I'd like to share with you.
それは来年の世界大会の開催地です。
And that is next year's location for the Pokemon World Championships.
No. こちらです。
Here it is.
Japan? Oh, they're gonna cruise somewhere. Hawaii. Vermilion City.
Yeah, Mike, yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ishihara. Thank you for watching this year's World Championships, and we will see you next year in Yokohama!
Love this music. It's so good. Invented. We have done 518 encounters. Let's turn these back on. We have got a 1 shiny. Why is that at 2? Only have 1 shiny. Okay, that worked. Sound. Oh yeah, I forgot. I decided to just use the without a shiny. So right now we have this one last Porygon egg, and we're doing Among Us. So these eggs I'm getting now are Among Us eggs. We need 0 attack and 0 speed IVs. I'm looking for a relaxed nature. Good thing about Among Us is that we can take out Ditto to manipulate the IVs even more if we need to. So if we get like a 0 speed and a 0 attack, we can beat them together until we get one with both. So this will be a Porygon. Imagine it's shiny. We need relaxed nature. It's for Among Us. They're relaxed. Actually, I need to check. So it doesn't need any egg moves. Mongoose egg number 1. They're so cute. Yeah, we need a generator as well. Hidden ability. Okay, they had their hidden ability. It's all right. Yes. Alright, I'm actually gonna get off of here, eat some lunch. I will be back at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Appreciate you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already.